So we've been talking about the discipleship life cycle that has kind of four steps in it. First of all, uh, a seed is planted, and then it's sprouted, and then that seed grows. In our terminology, the posts that hold the plant upright during the storms, those are removed, and people are responsible for their own discipleship as opposed to somebody else responsible for their discipleship. And then they bear fruit. And I'm changing that to fruit. I have no idea if that's a verb, but it works for me. So plant, sprout, grow, and then fruit. And we've also talked about how this is called the discipleship life cycle. Discipleship life cycle. And then how every disciple, every follower of Jesus Christ at some point has had a seed planted in their life. Somebody kind of took them under their wing and helped them sprout, let them, have the posts removed, and then they're responsible for their own discipleship, and then they bear fruit. And then in that fruit is the seeds of future disciples, future seeds that are planted in other people. So that every Christian has that done to them one time. They go through this process. Somebody, went through this process with them. And so there's two people, right? There's two people doing this process together. And then after you become a follower, a disciple of Jesus Christ, then you're called to bear fruit. And that means that that you will be called at some point to share some discipling with somebody else. Now that could be, it could be like your children, which is going to be a long process of discipleship. It might be that you're teaching a class. You might just be one class that you're teaching, and you're doing discipleship for just that one class. But basically, you're the teacher. You're the one that's doing the discipling, and then you have someone that's learning. So you have teaching and then learning at the same time, and you're both going around this thing together. You go around it once the first time, so that you become a disciple of Jesus Christ, and then you go around it several different times later on in your life as you become, a follower of Jesus Christ and grow in your faith and that sort of thing. And what I wanted to share with you today is that I was reading about how a tree grows, and I was just curious. So I got on the internet, and of course you can believe anything on the internet, right? So apparently the way a tree grows is that the live activity is actually on the outside of the tree, where the nutrients and the water are going up and down the tree, or up the tree, I guess, and it's just on that outside layer of the tree. And then that layer basically dies off, and another layer is put around it, and the old layer remains, but it's not a live layer. It's a dead layer, but it's still a layer of the tree. And the more those are called tree rings, and the more layers of tree rings that a tree has, the healthier the tree is, the more structure the tree has to withstand the storms of life. And I think that's just a great analogy for discipleship, because as you are sprouting, you're growing on the outside layer. There might not be an inside layer, but as you learn discipling from other people, you start to build those layers around your life, right? First time you go around, and then the next time, you might take somebody else around. And basically what you're doing is you're creating tree rings in your life. And the more tree rings that you create, the more discipleship rings that you create in your life, the stronger you become, and the more fruit you can bear, the more the storms of life don't bother you as much. The winds and the storms can come, but because you get so many experiences in discipleship that have built who you are and built your character, you become a stronger tree because of it. Another interesting thing about this is that when you go through discipleship in a tree ring, so a tree ring is never just you, right? It's you and somebody else. Either you're being discipled or somebody is discipling you. I mean, either one is adding a tree ring to your life or a discipleship ring to your life. But that discipleship ring actually stays with you for the rest of your life. So even people that you've had a relationship with previously, it might have been when you were young, it might have been your parents or your grandparents, your great-grandparents or something like that. Somebody discipled you and they became part of your tree rings. And as you grow through life, you meet different people and you disciple with different people and you become stronger and stronger until the point where you're just an incredibly strong tree planted by the streams of living water. Because those tree rings are those moments of discipleship where somebody took the time out of their life to sit down with you and teach you something about the faith, or perhaps you took the time to sit down with somebody and teach them something about the faith. And when you do that, you create a bond with them that it becomes a part of your life and it becomes a part of who you are, and other Christians become a part of your existence and your strength, even long after they're gone. So when I was a kid, my grandmother used to bring me to church, and we would go to the local church that she'd been a member for. I think she was a member of that church for like 60 years when she died. But she was a very strong tree in that church. And but I would go as a little kid. I would go to church with her in that little church in Glendale, Arizona, and that was building tree rings. And even though she's been dead all these years, that experience of what she did to me, that she cared enough about me, that she cared enough about my character and about my faith development, that she was willing to take me to church, kicking and screaming. She was willing to put up with that because she wanted to build those tree rings in my life. When I was in high school and college, I had some really, really good friends, and we were very much shaped by the relationships that we had at that time. And very, very, very strong friends. And it's been years since I've seen them. Actually, I see them periodically, but I mean, we haven't been in a day-to-day relationship for a very, very long time. And yet, when we get back together again and start talking, it's not very long before it seems like we're right back where we were 30 years ago when we were very, very close friends. And I think part of that is because we have this shared existence together. We have some tree rings, some very, very strong tree rings that we developed together, and those tree rings never disappear. As a matter of fact, I think even after death, those tree rings stay with us. The relationships, the discipling that we built on this earth, when we're dead, those things stay with us for eternity because they're a part of who we are. They're part of our existence. When I was in high school, there was a musician named Michael W. Smith, very, very popular. And he had this song that he sang called "A Friend's a Friend Forever if the Lord's the Lord of Them." And Michael W. Smith is absolutely 100% correct. Friends are, when you go into a discipleship relationship with other people, either you're discipling someone, they're discipling you, or, iron sharpens iron type of thing. Those relationships last forever. And they become a part of who you are. Even if you never see that person again, they still become a part. Those discipling experiences still become a part of you and give you the strength that you are today because of those relationships. And so I just wanted to share that with you because when I saw the article on how a tree grows, I said, oh, that's exactly what discipleship is all about. the discipleship happens in the outside ring where you're currently discipling people or learning from other people or you're teaching other people. That's all in the outside. But over time, you build up this strength because of all those discipling relationships that you've had in your life. So I guess if that's true, then maybe one of the best things you can do to withstand the storms in life that are definitely going to happen and going to try to knock you over is to be in discipling relationships as much as possible with as many Christians as possible. Try to have as many tree rings in your life so that when the storms of life hit, you are strengthened by the relationships you had with them. I think that's a pretty cool analogy.